I can't even remember anything of this, by the way.
Just
rolling Europa.
Get that cough button pressed.
I know. I'll say that again. Despite that, that horrendous. Oh, fuck's sake! Out of practice at this.
I know.
She was asleep, but it was constant.
And the stadium erupts in red, white, and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself.
Rangers are coming!
Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the iReady podcast. As ever, I'm your host Derek, and with me is my co-host Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Derek, it's been a long time, and let me be the first person pod-wise to congratulate you on the birth of your second child. I'm hoping that you've not had too many sleepless nights, mate, but I'm sure myself and all the listeners are just want to say congratulations. Has everything been okay in the house?
Yeah, thanks very much, Dave. Yes, all good. Lack of sleep as normal, but that's nothing unusual for me, Dave. I've been training all my life for this.
You definitely have, mate. No, it's good to hear. It's been a long time since we've been on the pod. There has been so much has been happening. I know that we've got quite a few games to cover, which I don't think you're going to cover in too much length, but the big news, more than anything, I think will take up most of our time. So I'll let you go on with it, mate.
Yes, there's been injuries, there's been hospitalisations, there's been trips abroad, there's been new managers, but enough of Dave and I.
Exactly. That's my personal life out the road.
Yes, a lot to cover. We'll get into it shortly. We're not going to cover the games in great depth because, let's face it, they were absolutely dire, but yes, we'll get into it anyway. So we may as well go down the tunnel and onto the park. So, as I said, we're not covering this in great depth, but the first game we've got to cover is Saturday the 29th of October. It was a 4-1 win at home against Aberdeen in the Premiership. All in all, a pretty good result, Dave, and a good performance as well.
It was one of the best performances that we've had, actually, Derek. I think we were all kind of dreading it before the game, started, considering, other results had been before that. But, a very, very good performance and an excellent win as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, the Michael Beale was in the director's box for the game as well. So at the time, it definitely fueled speculation. Yep. We're all, we said in the last podcast that we were on the Gio out bus at that point. That never really done anything to alleviate issues as well. It was all pally in the director's box. And maybe that was the spark that ended up being that he became our new manager. But the game itself, we contrived to undo ourselves because in the 21st minute, Aberdeen went 1-0 up. Absolutely shambolic defending against the run of play, you could have actually said, but it was the basics in our defence once again that let us down. However, it all was restored on the 27th minute when Cholak scored. Lundstrom made it 2-1 in the 48th minute, so a good time to get the goal and go ahead there. Substitution at half-time, Ben Davies off, Arfield on. Tavernier scored on the 51st minute to make it 3-1, and we eventually rounded out the game on the 85th minute with Morelos making it 4-1 as well. He had just come on 5 minutes earlier. Just before that as well, Tavernier did miss a penalty. It was a poor penalty as well. It hit the post. But all in all, it was a really good performance. As you said, probably the best of the season domestically so far as well. And happy to get out of there, what could have been a banana skin fixture because Aberdeen were starting to come back into the league as well at that point.
Yeah, they were, mate. And, between that and I think the Hearts game not too long ago, when we played very well against Hearts as well, those have been the sort of two standout performances in the league, certainly this season, when Gio was in charge. But no, it was a great victory. It was a great performance as well. And as you quite rightly pointed out before that, a bit strange, I thought at the time that Michael Beale was there, but what that's got to do with what's happened in the last week or so, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. But yeah, good performance regardless.
Yes. So that lined it up for the next game, which was a really dreaded one, Tuesday the 1st of November. It was a 3-1 loss at home against Ajax in the Champions League Group A, Game 6. Just glad it's over at that point, Dave, weren't we?
I know, we were hoping for something, Derek, to muster a wee bit of pride. Even a draw would have been happy with, Derek, but I think we were all expecting it, just the way that this disastrous Champions League campaign has been. But yeah, disappointing all round. It could have been a lot worse, to be fair. So again, something that I think we should just forget about what's actually happened. But I'll let you get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand you can't really go balls out at this level, but I would have much rather have a go at them and lose a few goals rather than going out like a whimper like we did. We only had our pride to effectively try and salvage in this one here, and also the fact that we were trying to not be the worst, officially the worst team in the Champions League history. We contrived to do that though, because we ended up being that, unfortunately. We went down after 4 minutes, 1-0, a simple ball behind Tavernier. It was a cross into the deck to the middle, lovely layoff to the attacker, into the unmarked player, and a simple dink to beat McGregor. They went 2-0 on the 29th minute. Again, another defensive blunder, really. And at this point, it could have been 2 going on 20. It really could have been, and we really feared at that point there. However, going into half-time, not a great deal to take out, positive to take out of that at all. Second half, largely the same as the first half. Ajax, the game was clearly rounded up at 2-0. They really weren't forcing the issue. We made a few substitutions late on in the game, which I couldn't understand as well, because we were on the back foot. We needed a couple of goals, and we never actually made substitutions until the 83rd minute, I believe. We did get a penalty in the 85th minute, and Tavernier made it 2-1. However, in the dying minutes, in the 89th minute, Ajax just upped their game, went 3-1, and that was the game over. And we are officially the worst team in Champions League history. Don't know what much you can take about that, Dave.
There's no much you can say, Derek. Really, really disappointed with the way the Champions League campaign has played out. Really disappointed that we couldn't even muster up a draw against someone, especially at home. The Liverpool game was just a disaster. We're going over old ground, Derek, but it was just a really, really shambolic and disastrous European campaign. And, we had such enthusiasm when we beat PSV to get through. We thought, because of how we played last season, that we would actually possibly pull off a couple of shocks and do well, but it was just a disaster, Derek, wasn't it? From start to finish. I know the injuries haven't helped, but for a team, as I say, I keep going back to that Liverpool game at Ibrox. I don't think a team should get beat 7-1 by anybody at home, regardless what competition you're playing in. So, one to forget and all, Derek. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, despite that unfortunate record we've got, we still ended up raking in more coefficient points than Celtic and Hearts because of the qualifiers we had to go through. So, always the one leading the light for the Scottish teams, despite our abysmal record this season. But the group stages, we played 6, won 0, drawn 0, lost 6, scored only 2 goals. I think both were penalties. Conceded 22, goal difference minus 20 and 0 points. Napoli and Liverpool both on 15, but Napoli were on top due to a better head-to-head. Ajax on 6 and us on obviously 0. Obviously, Napoli were the complete outliers in that. We didn't expect them to be as good as they were, did we?
We didn't, Derek, but we knew they would be a top team. We knew they would be a top team. As I say, I keep harping on about the Liverpool game, Derek. I wanted more, Battle of Britain again, try to get some pride, but I'm still having flashbacks in my dreams about that game at Ibrox, Derek. It's affected me, it affected the team as a whole as well. Just a disaster. But as you say, Napoli were the top team. I think when we watched them playing against little Liverpool, they were a top team as well, and I think they really could have put us to the sword if they wanted to. But I think they were, they knew they had the game won against us quite early on, so they knew that they didn't have to really put their foot in the gas, especially the game away from home. But it's again, I keep harping on about it. It's been a painful reflection for me when I think back to the Champions League, which I was so looking forward to when we qualified.
Roll on the Europa League next year.
I hope not, Derek. I hope that we can get into the Champions League again. I just hope that we're a bit more savvy about it. That's all a bit more fight and a bit more grit and determination than we showed this year.
Yes. So, At that point, we weren't really expecting anything out of the Ajax game. The next game, though, we were expecting something out of it, which was Sunday the 6th of November. It was away against St Johnstone. However, we lost 2-1. And at that point there, the knives were really out for Gio there. And we felt, everybody, to a man, we felt he should be out that same night, didn't we?
Derek, as I said to you, I felt he should have been out before that, but you just saw the reaction of the team in that game. St Johnstone didn't even play particularly well to beat us, which was the worrying thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sums up with you after the game. You said, I think it was an early kick-off again, and you said that I'm away back to bed. I want him out by the time I wake up. Yeah,
as I said, Derek, I had been wanting Gio away, and again, I'm not going to hold any bitterness towards the man. He's an ex-player. He was fantastic. He was the manager that we all wanted at the time. We all wanted him. We were all delighted he was in. It just didn't work at all. And before we go any further behind in the league, I think he should have been gone. So it was quite evident that the players weren't playing for him. It was quite evident his tactics weren't working, and we needed a change. And I think it took too long for us to either get rid of him or for him to walk, and it's been us that's got rid of him at the end of the day. And that game summed it all up for me, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it could be summed up really in the first half stats alone. 74% possession, 17 shots but only 3 on target, 12 corners. Counter that with St Johnstone, they had 3 shots, 1 on target and 1 goal. I mean, that's just utterly abysmal. They did score first on the 41st minute. It was a stunning strike all the same, but it was just our players dithering about at the back, giving the ball away to Tavernier again. We decided not to put any challenges in at all, and he allowed the walks right through in a stunning strike. Really, and I think even Kent jumped out the way of the shot as well. Absolutely atrocious all round.
It was shocking defending all round, Derek. As you say, it was a good finish, but really, really poor.
Into the second half, really not much better. St Johnstone did actually go 2-0 up on the 62nd minute. It was a throw-in from the left. King got absolutely skinned, and it was a backheel flick into the back of the net. 74th minute, we did pull a goal back with Tavernier from a corner kick, and it was a good shot. Just after that as well, we nearly levelled up with Lundstrom with a thunder bastard from distance, which rattled off the bar. But it was really too little too late. An absolute abysmal second half. And as I said before, the knives were out after that game. And duly so. Next game we had to cover here was Wednesday the 9th of November. It was a 1-0 win at home against Hearts in the Premiership, so a little bit of a reprieve here, but you really couldn't take much into it, could you?
No, you couldn't. And again, a dismal Hearts display, Derek. It really was. And I hate taking anything away from a Rangers victory, but we still didn't play very well. Hearts were shocking. I think any half-decent team on the night could have really put us to the sword, or at least held us to a 0-0 draw. That's what Hearts had set out to do. They'd done absolutely zero attacking in the whole game, so it was literally just us, but our inability to score goals and kill teams off. Thankfully, we managed to get the 3 points without Hearts causing any problems, but I think it was just more down to Hearts being really, really pitiful against us on the night was the reason that we got the victory, rather than us completely outplaying them and outclassing them.
Yeah, I mean, the first half was just devoid of anything. My stream went down for 10 minutes. It might as well have been the full 45. We just played with no pace, no intensity, sideways passing, very predictable play. It was a team that just had looked as if they'd given up, really. We did score in the second half on the 66th minute, where it was a nice move from Kent, getting the ball into the final third, back-facing goal, takes on 3 players and turns towards goal while doing so. Threaded a nice ball through to Barisic on the left, who plays a first-time cross on the deck to Tillman, who slides in and hits it into the back of the net. A bit of forward thinking all round for a change, and an excellent goal. And that was vintage Kent there. That is the Kent we want to see. I don't know where it came from, because he was just playing the same loads of shite that he'd been playing for the past season. I don't know where that came from. A bit of inspiration. That's what was needed in the team.
Exactly. No, it was a great goal, Derek. It was a great move, finished off really well by Tillman. But as you say, very, very fleeting flashes by Kent in certain games, and so something usually happens. So, as I say, but just nowhere near the level that we're used to, nowhere near the level that's needed by Kent, and it's been the same all season.
Yeah, just the game itself, as you highlighted with Hearts, they sat back. That's their prerogative at the end of the day. I wonder what the result would have been if they'd been a wee bit more adventurous. I think we would have probably lost the game because we were certainly doing nothing up front anyway.
No, just exactly like I said, Derek. I think the victory was more down to how poor Hearts were and how lacking in attack they were. I worked with quite a few Jambos, Derek, and they were all absolutely raging with a manager, with Robbie Nielsen, that he didn't even try in the last 20 minutes to go for it to try and get an equaliser, but they just didn't for some reason, Hearts. And like you, I think we were there for the taking, but fortunately, it worked out for us and we managed to get the win.
Yeah. Next game and the last game we've got to cover. Might it have been the straw that broke the camel's back? Well, not certainly initially. It was Saturday the 12th of November. It was a one-each draw away against St Mirren in the Premiership. Just the first half, really a repeat of the last number of games. There was a bit of effort, plenty of possession, but a complete lack of ideas and skill in the final third, and putting their keeper under no pressure whatsoever. 72% possession again, 5 shots, 1 on target. St Mirren had the same number of shots despite having a ton less possession, which is an absolute disgrace, to be honest. St Johnstone were getting forward, trying to play, arguably unlucky on a few occasions, but nothing came of it for either team. They went a goal up on the 47th minute just after half-time, though. It was a long throw into our box. That's not the first time that they've been beat by that. A header backwards, right to their attacker in the middle, who was a first-time shot. Great save from McGregor, however, falls right to the same player who shoots into the back of net. Just great initially from McGregor, but should never have got in that position in the first place.
Derek, I can't comment much about it. I was actually sitting in airport in Amsterdam trying to watch the game on my mobile phone with a really, really dodgy Wi-Fi reception, but I did see the goal. I just, just like what you said, as soon as the throw-in was right into our box, we weren't anywhere near it, were we? And, it should have went in first time, but it was an excellent save. But again, our standards of defending again, not being able to clear the loose ball and made it easy for the guy in the end where, just a really, really poorly defended goal.
Really bit of concerning bit of play on the 61st minute when the game was stopped for 7 minutes when King went down after a heavy challenge in the back. He never moved at all. He was stretchered off. It looked as if he had got a bad head knock. The boy led with his elbow, and I don't know if it was a bit of whiplash or just an elbow to his head, to the back of his neck at all. Fortunately, it transpired he's okay, but it looked a really serious one, and you never like to see that for any player, do you, Dave?
No, we don't, especially for a guy who we have a lot of hope for in the future. I really hope this campaign hasn't ruined him, with the results and the way we've been playing. But as you say, it looked very worrying when it happened, Derek.
Yep. And then more concerning play because we never really got anything until the 80th minute when, in the 80th minute, Kent was clearly taken out in the box while running with the ball at pace, and the referee books him for diving. Unbelievable. It was as clear a day even in real time. There was initially no VAR check, so what was the point? It was as clear as day, and then there was a 4-minute VAR check for the penalty to be eventually being given. Dave, I know there was going to be teething problems, but when you can't see something in real time when the referee was clearly looking at it, everybody in their dug knew that was a clear penalty. How he can actually quickly book Kent. His decision to book Kent was even before he'd thought about it, Dave. Shocking refereeing.
It was, and thankfully VAR was there, Derek, so that you could actually see that it was a penalty. It was undeniably, because if that had been last season, then that would have been Kent booked and we wouldn't have got a penalty. Do you know what I mean?
The joke is, if that had been maybe 7 games ago, we wouldn't have got a penalty for that and he would have got a booking. So... But anyway, up steps Tavernier in the 83rd minute. He hits it to the right. The keeper dives the right way. He got his hand to it, but it was too powerful, and that made it 1 each. It was 9 minutes injury time. Made a couple of last-ditch substitutions, but it never came to anything, and we drew the game 1 each. So, absolutely abysmal performance once again. We're going into the last 4 Premiership games. They are looking for 12 points. We obviously got the points against Aberdeen, but then we fucked it against St Johnstone and then last against St Mirren as well. Now 9 points behind Celtic. The league, certainly not mathematically over, anything can happen, but with their consistency over the past 18 months and our ability to throw things away, I don't see much hope for it, Dave, do you?
I don't, Derek. Like you, I'm not going to concede anything with, as we're going to get into, the change in regime. Hopefully things can change. We need to basically just start concentrating on a better performance, Derek, and being able to dispatch teams, because it's just not worked. We've heard so many things about lack of fitness and, the tactics not being, players not playing. But it's just unacceptable for us to be that far behind this early on in the season, Derek. I mean, that was before, December had started. We were 9 points behind. As I say, again, at the end of the season, Derek, that would have been unimaginable for that to happen. But for us to be in that position, it was just far too much. The manager should have been gone quite a few games ago to stop something like this happened. And, just like what you said, I fear that it's now going to be too late. I hope it's not, but I just fear it is.
So we've kind of buried the lead here, Dave, obviously, because we'll get into the manager situation now. And as I said, there'd been obviously calls for him for a while to go. Sadly, it came from us too. And Dave, me and you are pretty level-headed, I think, when it comes to managers anyway. But I think it was, the writing was on the wall really after the St Johnstone game. Certainly his position really became unattainable at that point there. I mean, he's gone from giving us the best feeling I've ever experienced anyway as a Rangers fan in that run to Seville. I mean, it wasn't just a smash and grab like it or luck like it was in Manchester. It was some incredible football, beating some of Europe's best. But league-wise, it was pretty abysmal. If you look back at his time, we lost a 6-point lead last year when he came in. I think it swung to them being about 8 ahead, and we did eventually claw it back to 4, but the league was gone at that point. They won it. Domestically, Gio hadn't got us going at all. And granted, there's been some horrendous injuries this year, but how much of that is due to lack of fitness because he's not training and his background team are not training him? And how much of it is down to this alleged bust-up that's happened with him and senior players in Portugal in pre-season training? Who knows? I mean, we done incredible to beat PSV to get to the Champions League, but then after the Ajax game, the excuses started. Then in the last really 4 weeks of his reign, those excuses started to leak into the domestic games as well. Then he started calling legends of our club stupid, like Brian Laudrup. How he can even... All he had to do there is say he's entitled to his opinion, but I disagree with him. He's openly calling club legends stupid. That's just... It was a bit getting bizarre at this point. Then after the St Mirren game, I think we all expected either that night or the next day he would be sacked, but he wasn't. Then the World Cup started, so we all thought we must be sticking by him. Then there was the Sky Sports interview, which pretty much confirmed he was staying, and then he was sacked the next day.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Totally bizarre, Derek. I actually was still expecting him to be your manager after the World Cup. I didn't see it coming at all because I thought that it would have been after the St Johnstone game, if anything, that he would have been away. And when he wasn't, I was still expecting him to be the manager, with when the World Cup finished and we were getting back into business there. So, like you, very surprised with the timing. And again, Derek, I actually heard something quite interesting. I thought it was quite true. I was reading something it was a World Soccer sort of paragraph that I was reading that they covered it very briefly about Van Bronckhorst. There was a Dutch football writer had said that Van Bronckhorst was classed in Holland as being more of a one-off manager, certain big games they could go on and win, and they likened him to a sort of cup manager. I realise he got the league title with Feyenoord, but they were actually saying that he would probably be more suited to international football. Not saying it would be the manager of the Dutch national team, but maybe another team. Because certainly with us, with our run in the Europa League, winning the Scottish Cup, he did actually seem, better suited to playing in cup competitions, didn't he? For us to, win certain big games. So maybe international football would be a better draw for him, Derek. It's not worked out at us. We all hoped it would. He was our first choice. I think the vast majority of Rangers fans, including myself, actually thought we were getting an upgrade in manager over Steven Gerrard when he came in. A player that had played with the club, huge fan favourite. He'd won the Champions League. He's played for Barcelona. He's done everything. Worked with some of the best managers of all time. We thought that he was going to be the main man, but it just didn't work out, Derek, for us. And I'm really sorry it did, but I think it actually took too long for us to get rid of him and find someone to replace him. And I think that's going to tell come the end of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think up until the last games we covered there, his league record, I wouldn't say it was massively bad. We're still only, I think, about 4 points behind Celtic at that point, and you had some extenuating circumstances, obviously, with the injuries, but we're getting the same type of injuries. So, as we said in the last podcast, is it a case of the injuries are stemming from the training techniques and or the lack of fitness training? We'll find out in due course, won't we? But yeah, I mean, certainly a tremendous servant as a player. We thank him for the run he gave us. That, as I said, that's some of the most amazing times we've experienced last season in that run for Europe. We'll never forget that. We thank him for his service, and we move on as it is. Now, he did put a statement out about a week later. Really nice, genuine message, but it also had the line, "I faced unique challenges and some very difficult circumstances to operate in." I mean, is that a woe is me comment from him? Is that reference to the injuries, or is that reference to board issues where he's maybe not been backed, as what a lot of people claim? Or am I just reading too much into that? Again, I don't know. I think it's maybe a bit of everything there, to be honest. I think the injuries certainly played a massive part in his run. You've got 10, nearly 15 players out from the first team. Most of them were all the new players they brought in as well. You can't legislate for that type of injury, can you? But that is a certain circumstance. But you've just got to work around it. And the players that we were left with should have had more than enough in the tank to do the job. They just never.
Derek, I think another thing for me was the players that he brought in. You can take Suter out of that equation because he got injured so earlier on, and perhaps Lawrence as well, but out of all the players that he's brought in, Cholak has been the only success out of all of them. Matondo's done very little. The opinion for me is still out on Malik Tillman. He shows flashes here and there, but not enough for me to think that he should be an automatic starter each week. So the players that he's brought in, and I mean he's spent some money, as I say, the likes of Matondo, who you would like to think was going to be an automatic starter every single week, but it's just no worked out. So, a lot of players, I said it at the time as well, as soon as we lost all of our centre halves, there should have been something done. And I know we spoke about it at the time, Derek, at the transfer window. I think he should have done what a lot of managers have done previously, and that have been the manager of Rangers, is went out and just bought an experienced player that's playing in the Premier League already to play in defence, just to get us through that. Because even the likes of Davies has, I've still, the jury's out on him as well, Derek. I still don't know, because he was out for a while, and some of the games he's played, I've still not looked at him and said, oh, he's a fantastic player or whatever. So it's a lot of ifs and buts, Derek, but there's been more negatives, far more negatives than there has been positives with his reign there. And it comes down to everything that you've said. It's come down to fitness, it's come down to tactics, it's come down to players that he's brought in. And it just seems to me that the players had stopped playing for him as well. So, a culmination of loads, and then at the end, the results have just been really, really poor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the players have got to carry a massive amount of the can as well for this as well. They're certainly not blameless, and arguably they got him the sack. And you hit the nail on the head for me. They just stopped playing for him by the look of it. They needed you going back to maybe just needing an experienced player. They needed the spectre of John Eustace, I think, again.
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously massive speculation about who was going to replace him. Obviously Michael Beale was the front runner. We had Sean Dyche, Kevin Muscat, Steven Gerrard as well. I don't know how you pronounce this game. Shawnee. I don't know how that is. Knutson, Hasselhuttle, Hassenhoff, whatever his name is.
I thought you were going to say
Hassenhuttle. David Martindale, Callum Davidson, you hold the whole gambit. David Martindale, in his credit, was asked about it in an interview, and fair play to him, he did say it'll never happen due to his background, obviously being in prison before and the stature of us, so fair play to him there. He's made his bed with that. I wanted Sean Dyche, to be honest. I think he would have been a good manager for us. He would have certainly, put the discipline back in the team, maybe more defensive than we're used to. But a lot of people were saying, well, he doesn't fit our style of play. Well, my argument to that is we didn't have a style of play this season under Gio, and the style of play under Gerrard wasn't that successful domestically, was it? We had one trophy in 9, if that's what you want to trot out. So
I think, Derek, for the people that came away with that argument, I heard it as well. I spoke to a few people about it also, and I had to remind them that in the last 30 years, the most successful period that we've had was under Walter Smith. And you can say what you want about Walter. He was a very, very defensive style manager. I mean, for years we played 5 at the back, Derek. But he had 2 superstars in the likes of Laudrup and Gascoigne, that could create stuff for us, and they had strikers like McCoist and Haley that could score goals. But all in all, we were a very, very defensive team under Walter Smith, and that's what brought us success for all those years. So I think I would rather have a very defensive team, but we were still winning, 99% of our games, than being an all-out attacking team that were losing goals left, right and centre, and we were a dogfight every single week. So it's horses for courses, I'm afraid, especially when it comes to us. It's very, very difficult. I think you've got to go back to the likes of Dick Advocaat that had endless amounts of money to go out and sign quality players for us to play that type of football that we could completely dominate, but that's not going to happen. So we need something stable for us, and like you, I thought Dyche might have been the man to do so, but that wasn't to be.
No. However, Michael Beale was announced. It was the obvious, if not a wee bit unimaginative choice. I mean, he absolutely has my backing, but for me, it's a massive risk. I know that anyone is a risk. I know he knows the club and he clearly loves it here, but it's an appointment that needs to work. It's not just a case that it's a rebuilding job. It is a case of this needs to work. The league's maybe too far gone, but there needs to be foundations then put in place for next year, because next year is unquestionable, needs to happen. We're likely going to lose the second automatic Champions League place, not this year, but next year. So this is why it needs to work at least next year. He needs the backing of the board, obviously. Now, I'm in the camp where I think the board have backed the manager this year, whether that's transpired because of the injuries, because it's maybe not been the right players. I think Beale's been asked in interviews about, who has the ultimate say in terms of the players they bring in, and basically he said it's him that has the say. I've been very impressed with all the stuff that's been put out by Rangers so far and what Beale said, all the interviews, but they're just words. The proof of the pudding is when they hit the ground running on the 15th of December when they play Hibs again, isn't it?
Exactly, Derek. It is a huge gamble. You've got to ask yourself how much influence, and I know this might sound ridiculous, Derek, and you might say, no, Dave, I think you're talking shite, but you've got to wonder how much influence senior players have had also when it comes to the appointment, because all we're hearing is that how all the players that have been with us for a few seasons are absolutely over the moon that he's back, because they all rated him so highly. I don't know if that's the case. A lot of folk will say, no, that couldn't happen. And for a team the size of Rangers, that players have got an influence as to who comes in. But I just, the way that we're constantly being told, Derek, from the players that, this is an incredible delighted that he's back and how good a coach he is, and he was held in such high regard. The more and more I hear about it, the more and more I think, is this the board's way of trying to get what we've got firing full cylinders again? The likes of Tav, the likes of Kent, the likes of Morelos, all these guys. It is a strange one, Derek. Like you, of course, we're backing him 100%, but the jury's out for me. Again, Derek, we'll just have to wait and see.
I think, looking at what you see on what they've put out so far, he is a very hands-on coach in that respect. So I don't know if they're coming, that some of the senior players, if that's what you're saying, are looking at his coaching abilities and the fact that he seems to be a hands-on coach, which he said he's going to be. So we'll maybe see, obviously, in due course, how that's going to transpire out. And, as I said, they need to hit the ground running. But I'm getting more and more impressed, and I'm warming to him more and more. And we'll just need to wait and see how it transpires.
Yep.
First game we've got with them, though, is Saturday the 10th of December. It's at home against Leverkusen. It's a friendly. It's now going to attract probably more interest than it was if Gio was still in charge, isn't it? I won't get to see the game because my work's night out is that night, so I'll try and keep up to date with it, and I'll maybe watch it back afterwards. Next game after that, Thursday the 15th of December at home against Hibernian in the Premiership. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Tuesday the 20th of December away against Aberdeen in the Premiership. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff again. Friday the 23rd of December away against Ross County in the Premiership. That's a 19:30 kickoff. Wednesday the 28th of December at home against Motherwell Premiership. That's a 19:45 kickoff. And that all leads us up into the next Old Firm game, Monday the 2nd of January at home against Celtic in the Premiership. That's a 12:30 kickoff. So massive games as ever.
For me, Derek, all three of them all four of those matches, I'm not so bothered about the friendly, but all of those league games, Derek, if Michael Beale wants to be, accepted, and this is seen as being a great appointment, they're all must-win games, especially the Old Firm game, Derek, because if Celtic are still, at least 9 points clear and they go 12 points clear at that stage, it's just a complete disaster. So, I mean, they're must-win games. I realise that all games as a Rangers manager are must-win games, but if we've got to take anything out of this season at all, I think he's really got to hit the ground running straight away. Who he's going to have back in his team, I don't know. The defence needs sorted as soon as possible. I don't know if there's any updates of players that are coming back or not, Derek, but we certainly looked short, when Gio's last games, and I don't know if it's got any better or not.
I mean, certainly we've got this last 4 or 5 weeks out during the gap, so that's obviously a good thing. Players will be a wee bit coming back. The issue with players maybe not playing for them and maybe stalling on their coming back as well, which has been known to happen in the past with some managers, you might find that might happen as well. So we'll just need to wait and see as well. Yeah,
there's been a lot of talk of the likes of Hadji and Ruth, coming back to fitness, Derek, but absolutely nothing in any of the defensive players. So again, it's something that we'll have to wait and see what he does if that's the case, and he's not got any of these defenders back. So yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yes. So we'll now go into the news. So we were meant to do this podcast a few weeks ago, and we decided to postpone it because I was absolutely knackered dealing with a 4.5-year-old. However, luckily we did, because the accounts were released the next day as well, and they are very, very healthy. The first time we've made profit in a number of years. It covers up into the 30th of June, so covers the run up into Seville and the Patterson sale, but obviously not the Bassi or Aribo sales. A record turnover of 86.8 million, operating profit of 5.9 million compared to the 23.5 million loss the previous year. We got £6.1 million compensation for Gerrard and his background staff. The outgoings, however, were £14.3 million as investor loan paybacks and a staggering 8.24 settlement for Sports Direct. And we had paid £9.6 million for Edmonton House as well. Obviously, these outgoings there, I've just showed you that they're one-off costs, so presumably it will be probably about £22.5 million better off next season. But really impressive, I think, isn't it?
Excellent. The run to Seville, Derek, a lot of people said that, the Europa League's not worth it. It certainly is if you're going into the latter stages. The sale of Patterson as well, huge. We've still got the Bassi sale, we've still got the Aribo sale, and I take it the actual earnings from getting into the Champions League, Derek, that's still to get added on also. We keep hearing numerous figures how much that's going to be, but surely that's going to be even more to get into the pot. So, like you, Derek, just delighted that we are, making a profit again. It's been a long, long time. There were times, when we went into administration and stuff that we never thought we'd be able to see, get back to these days. So it is, we've been a bit doom and gloom, with things on the field, but certainly off the field, it looks as if it's going in the right direction, doesn't it?
Yes, that's all what we wanted to see as well. And obviously with the payouts, the Sports Direct payoff is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we were boycotting the merchandise at that point, so how any judge can say that that's what they've lost in revenue is absolutely beyond belief to me. Still, had the dodgy deal not been uncovered with Sports Direct, it was effectively running for perpetuity. So how much more we would have lost in revenue is just, it is ridiculous. So given the fact it was like 7 pence in every £10 or something like that we were only making. So, however, in next year's accounts, there may be further payouts as well, one-off payments, because we're being sued for £9.5 million for the Elite Sports deal, all part of the Elite and Hummel deal, and us breaking their contract. Two things, however, in relation to that. I believe they still owe us £3.5 million from sales that they're yet to pay us because they were in dispute with that. Secondly, and probably the bigger thing, 2 days after they announced the litigation against us, they announced that they've went into administration. So there's a good chance that will come to nothing anyway. Or if anything, it'll be pennies and pound again.
Yeah.
Yes. Next thing we've got here is a litigation against us by the organisers of the Sydney Cup. They're suing us due to a breach of contract, £1.7 million. But we have launched a counter suit also, as our claim they've never followed through with their promises, such as the leaked launch by Celtic, etc., and other promises of payments. And I think there was other things that they were meant to do and they never done. And that's that's the excuse we gave for pulling out anyway. We all know the real reason why we pulled out. Now, the bottom line, I think both of us are at fault here. The board should have never agreed to it, and they've obviously potentially never followed through on the things that they were meant to do. But for me, any fan who was going mental at the club to try and cancel it cannot complain at all about any money we're having to pay out because of this, because it was their choice to pull out. There was always going to be a possibility of a lawsuit against us for breach of contract. From the images I've seen from the stills of the games that were played, ticket sales were absolutely dismal. So no doubt they're just trying to cover their losses. They're trying to overestimate what they're expecting to get back from us anyway.
Yep, no, it was, Derek. As I say, it was stupid at the board in the first place. There was a backlash. Like you said, though, we weren't to expect that this was to happen. There was a lot of complaints. Me being one, I was glad that we ended up not going. But as you said, it wasn't a surprise when we knew that we were going to be getting this sort of lawsuit coming through.
The Edmiston House thing as well, Dave. I mean, it's fair coming on. I was meant to be through at Ibrox yesterday, but unfortunately I couldn't make it because of a sickness in the family. But I hopefully going next Wednesday anyway. I'm going to go to the Argyle House restaurant. But Edmiston House, fair coming along. I've seen a lot of comments after the accounts and all that, saying that people saying it was a waste of money just now, especially as it will only generate up to £1 million a year, and we could use that money to fund the squad rebuild. I mean, I liken Edmiston House and what we're doing with the museum as I liken it to having a child, as it is never actually a good time to have one. You can always make an excuse not to have one, but if you leave it and you leave it and you leave it, it'll never happen. So we needed this to happen. A better megastore is coming. It's been needed for years. A museum. I mean, we're a historic club with a fan base that like to show that off. A museum has been decades in the making. That's massive, and it's been needed. And the venue space as well for a potential bar as well, and it frees up the current megastore for that bar. That's invaluable. Or a proper ticket office rather than a porter cabin as well. What that's going to get us is invaluable, and it puts us again in the elite category of clubs for me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to opening, Derek, and seeing everything that it has to offer. as you say, the thought of just even having a big museum for a club the size of ours is something, that they've been looking for a long time. We did enjoy, both me and you have done the tour of Ibrox and going into the Blue Room and stuff like that, but I've been on other stadium tours, other clubs, and got to see the big trophy rooms and stuff like that. So, if there's a museum, for us, that's absolutely amazing. I'm hoping, I think the Blue Room will still remain as it is inside the stadium, but a chance to see a proper museum as well, be fantastic. And what they do with the rest of it, I've seen a lot of different ideas that people think are going to happen, but as you say, it's something that we've been needing. I can remember the old Edmundston House at Ibrox; it was well used. So for it to be there on that site, and the whole building itself looks absolutely cracking. So looking forward to it, Derek. It's going to cost a lot of money, but I think in the long run it'll be well worth it.
Absolutely. Next thing is the AGM is on the 6th of December. Now, I don't know what the time and place is. It'll probably something like 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and they've usually held it in the Armadillo. I don't know if it's been announced to the public yet, but certainly all the shareholders will know about it anyway, so we'll wait and see how that transpires as well. I'm sure the fact that a new manager's been appointed will take some of the heat off them. However, I do expect there to be a lot of heat for them as well, for the fact that they could have acted a lot quicker. Have they actually backed the board? I'm sure they'll have some answers for that one as well. And obviously you've got the Dave King. Will he want to attend as well as a shareholder, major shareholder? And he says he's not voting for the parks as well, so that'll be 20% less he'll be getting. So it could be interesting.
Yeah, I think it will be, Derek. I think it will be.
One thing that they might need to answer, though, is the commercial team's decision to have a commemorative print for the stadium for our 7-1 defeat to Liverpool. They obviously like to put panoramas for sale for printed framed photographs for the Tifo displays. That was one of the games we had a Tifo display, and the commercial team decided to put that for sale. They've quickly, taken it off for sale, quite rightly so.
Whose idea was that, Derek? Who in their right mind would think that anybody, A, would want to buy that, and B, that it was a good idea after that result? Absolutely, I'm flabbergasted that anybody thought that would be a good idea. It has enraged the support. Just absolutely incredible.
I was going to buy a separate print of the front of Ibrox when I went to Ibrox there, but I certainly wasn't going to entertain something like that. It's a disgraceful result, a disgraceful decision to put that for sale as well.
Yep.
Talking of disgraceful decisions as well, just the wording here. First team coach Kerry Bowley issued a nice tweet after Gio left, praising him, which was fine until he used the line that Gio was a victim of his own success. There was a pile-on, and quite rightly, it was pointed out to him that Gio lost a 6-point lead last year and is currently 9 points behind this year. And if he thinks that's successful, then maybe Bowley should pack his bags too. He was on the Heart and Hand pod a couple of months ago, and he certainly speaks a good game. And I hope what he put on his tweet was just a misspeak rather than anything else, because, a club like Rangers, that's not successful. Yes, he was successful in Europe, but this year was dismal.
Yep.
Last year was great. Domestically, he was not successful at all.
No, as like you, Derek, I hope that's been just a misinterpretation, possibly, but it's certainly not the case when it comes to our domestic forum. So,
yeah. Fourth round of the Scottish Cup draw has been made. We've got St Johnstone away. Celtic have got Morton at home. So the rub of the green and those hot balls again.
Not at all, Derek. Not at all.
Yep. Next thing, a crazy and rather sick rumour was started online that Fashion Sakala had been shot while at home in Zambia. Turned out it was utter nonsense. Why people make up that shite? They're just absolutely sick in the head, even if it's just some demented Celtic fan making that up. Why?
I don't know, Derek. I don't know where it came from, where it started. To be fair to Fashion Sakala, he was on social media very quickly, putting that rubbish in that just be shown, where he was and everything was okay. So just completely bizarre. Bizarre.
Last couple of bits of news here is Real Kashmir hero and our former star David Robertson has been appointed Peterhead boss. So Hope he does well. He's pissed me off because I taken him in my mate's coupon today and I got roundly castigated for that one because the odds were so long. He got beat 3-0 today. Man sent off as well. So not a great start for him.
No, it wasn't, Derek. And also my local team, the team that I go and cheer on now and again, East Stirlingshire, they also have appointed a former Ranger as their new boss in Sandy Clark. So we'll wait and see how that one goes as well. A bit of a tough gig he's got for him, being the manager of the Shire. As I say, I've been to see them a few times. He's got a hard job on his hand there, but we wish him all the best as well. And, his latest management choice there, and we'll see how that goes as well for him.
It's a tough gig for the players as well, the amount of shite he talks.
That's terrible, Derek. So it is terrible.
And the last piece of football news here I've got is, it was a few weeks ago now, but at one of the Celtic games, Tom Boyd was on co-comms for Celtic TV. There was a handball decision that went against Celtic, which VAR flagged, and Tom Boyd said during commentary, "It's at times like these the referee should just ignore the rules."
Just as long as it's against Celtic, because that's basically what he should have said.
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes these new handball rules. Nobody can understand them. There's so many interpretations of them. That's by the by. You've got to stick by the rules, and that's the point. You can't just go against what the referee says and all that. So it's as usual with Celtic and their mindedness. Bearing in mind that's on Celtic TV, an official channel, they should be pulled up for that. But as usual, the SFA absolutely powerless in this case.
Tom Boyd, Some things never change, Derek.
No. So, woman rode motorbike naked, got fingered in the street and punched a blind man. A woman has been jailed and banned from entering Woking as she punched a blind man and was caught in the middle of a sex act in the street. Topical because her name is Natasha Claus. Was described as a mess by the judge as she turned up to court 4 hours late to be handed a 13-month prison sentence. The judge revealed that she had been caught riding through Surrey town naked on a motorbike, but added that she was not being sentenced for that particular incident. She pleaded guilty, outraging public decency, and she was caught in the middle of a sex act.
Is this like a game of bingo, just to see how many charges that she can get in the space of like 2 minutes for other things that she's done?
God knows, but prosecutor John Upton said she was spotted in Goldsworth Road, Woking, being fingered by a man. And I just imagine a judge turning around and saying that. When she was arrested at the scene, police said her jeans were pulled up, but her knickers were still in her handbag. Oh.
Oh, dear.
So on that note, we will end the podcast.
Yeah.
So a kind of quick rush through the games and the news this one, because we know that it's been over a month. We're going back to almost season 2 of going months in between podcasts again, but that's what happens sometimes. But hopefully we'll be back a lot sooner than the next time.
It couldn't be helped, Derek. We did have a lot on. And as you say, I don't think there was much to really go over the games that you went over there anyway, because a lot of them were very poor. But we will hopefully we will be a lot more regular in putting the pod out over the coming weeks and months. So
yes, I'll be eating my prune juice and prunes and bran flakes and all that.
Exactly, plenty but Brussels sprouts over the Christmas period.
Yes. So thanks for listening and goodbye.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.